Thank you for watching. So in this video, we will do settlement of internal order using assessment or secondary cost element. Now I've done this setup. I'll just walk through the setup and then we'll go from there. So in controlling, so I did create a second. So go to special functions. So internal order master data. So I did create a different order. So this is the order that I created. Now, in this order, it is based off of order type NSH2. Everything else remains the same, and the settlement is based off of this order type. So let's go and explore that order type. So, and that's in config. There, SPRO reference IMG, and then we go to controlling, and then we go to internal orders, and then we go to order master data, define order types. Now in order types, we said it was NSH2. Now if we look at NSH2, so we'll look at the settlement profile. So settlement profile here is NS1 SP2. So this is the order type with assessment that is in the settlement profile. So NS1 SP2, so we have to go to the settlement profile. So settlement profile is part of actual postings, and then settlement, and under settlement there is settlement profile. Yes, so there's maintain settlement profile. So we look at the settlement profile, and it was this one, NS1 SP2. So if you look at all the details, now we are really looking for allocation structure where it gives you type of senders, receivers, what cost element to use, things like that. And it can be settled against cost center, order, everything. So let's go back up and let's look at that allocation structure. So let's go to allocation structure. So the allocation structure was NSAM. So then let's go to assignments. And so this is 10. This is same as what it was before. So only one rule. Then we go to source. Now source is this cost element. So the earlier one was travel. But this one, if you look at that cost element, now we have that cost and ratio meals. So what we want to do is we want to distribute this cost from this cost element into this new internal order, and then we want to spread it across two production cost centers, but we don't want to preserve the primary cost element. Instead we want to use a different cost element. So that's what we'll look. So we'll use this IO settlement cost element. So the cost will flow into the order with 35 and then flow out of with the settlement cost element 97, and it will post in the cost center accordingly using 97. So the source is 35, and then if we look at settlement cost element, so you can settle against cost center, and then it will use this settlement cost element, and then there is nothing set up here. So let's go back up to the order. So if we look at the order here, master data, and if we look at the settlement rule, it will show that that this receiver uh, are the cost centers, prod 1 and prod 2, and they are in the ratio of 25 and 75. And the sender is the 35 cost element and the internal order. So that is the sender. So that in nutshell is the setup. So this is kind of assessment type of distribution. So let's go to the settlement. So let's go here on 161 and the settlement period 4. I mean, if we put in 5, let's see what happens. Yeah, it will say there is nothing to settle because we have not posted anything. So let's go to 4 and we are in test run. Click on the test run. And it will say settlement completed, no errors, no errors. Okay, so click on. So here it showed in it 25-75 ratio. And if we look at the sender, then sender is sending this with this cost element. And let's go back and receiver. If you look at the receiver, it is sending with this cost element, which is a secondary cost element, to these two cost centers. So let's exit out of this and let's run without test mode. And so you can look at settlement rule here. So this is same what we had seen earlier. So, okay, so no test run, period 4, fiscal, let's run this. Okay, completed. And now it would post this, and based on it will post with 97. And I just noticed, so you can look at the accounting documents. So let's look at the accounting document first. So the accountant document is, it is using the secondary cost element, and it is crediting. Okay, so okay, so this one doesn't show the. Let's see if we can, if it's stored over, so it's not having our layout. Okay, but we'll look into more detail in those reports, that will be more clear. So let's go back. Let's look at the controlling document. So this is the controlling document. So the order is credited, and the production cost centers are debited with the respective amounts. That's what um, that cost, internal cost movements are. So this is all happening internally. So now let's look at the reports in the information system. So it is under, if we can collapse this, so it is under internal orders, information system reports, plan actual comparison, and then you go here, and let's look at all the whole year. And this was the one that we were trying for. So now, so this is a settlement for, so this 28,000 which are posted on meal expense using this were moved out using the credit entry due to the settlement on using 97 secondary cost element, and it now nulls down to zero. So it is all settled. Now let's go back and let's look at the cost center, what they show. So go up, cost center accounting, information system, reports, plan actual comparison, and then if we look at prod 1 and prod 2 cost center, so let's look at prod 2 this time. So it had other postings from other areas, but if we just purely look at from settlement perspective, the order settlement, so this SCEIO settlement, the $21,000 comes from that. So now if you click on it, and then you can go to actual line items, and so this is the line item which was part of the settlement. So just slightly more detail. Let's see if we can select the layout. Okay, we didn't create it here, we created in accounting. So the reports, now let's look at the accounting. So far it looks good, the distribution happened as expected. So now go to general ledger, account, and display balances, and we are looking for 35. And if we look at debit, so it only shows debit, it does not show credit. So just like what had happened in assessment, it's still posted against that order. It did not credit and then debit back to that cost center. So this is kind of different because it is done through secondary cost element. Unlike distribution, if it were distribution, then this GL account would be credited and then debited again with the credit with the cost center. But this is not happening with this assessment. So that's the only difference between the two. But yeah, that's all I wanted to show. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.